Hey there, homeschool mom. Do you find yourself struggling day to day to get everything done that you need to do? Do you feel like there are times where you are just drowning in chaos and you are perpetually behind? If you do, you're not alone. I want to let you know that I have been there many, many times. As a homeschooling mom of 7 who has been doing this for almost 12 years now, this has been something that I have struggled with, and I have learned that there are some things that can be done to help make all of this so much easier. So welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new here. My name is Joni, and I am the mom behind simplelivingmama.com, where we help moms simplify life, home, and homeschool. We do help moms homeschool, and today we're going to be talking about 5 systems that every homeschool mom needs. Now, these are systems that are going to help both your home and your homeschool run a bit more smoothly. If you have been struggling to get it all done, if you're feeling perpetually behind, if you're feeling like there's just too much to juggle, too much to manage, then this is the video for you. So before we even get into this video, I want to invite you guys to go check out my blog. Right now, I am running a 10-day series. It's called 10 Days to a Peaceful Home and Homeschool, and it will definitely help you along with this video that I'm sharing with you today. So there are going to be 10 full blog posts with lots of encouragement and information to help you get everything under control and to have that peaceful homeschool that you have been craving. Because I know a lot of us look at Instagram, or we look at social media, or we look at other moms here on YouTube, and we see something that looks beautiful, looks wonderful, looks peaceful. First of all, I'm gonna say, let's be realistic. A lot of times what we are seeing on social media is not the full picture, and it's very idealized, very romanticized, and not necessarily what's going on behind the scenes all the time. So we need to be realistic, but at the same time, there are definitely things that we can do, especially if we feel like we're struggling, to create a more peaceful home and homeschool. So go check out that series. You can subscribe to my newsletter. I've got some freebies. I'll have those down in the description box as well. Some homeschool planning freebies. You'll get those, and then you'll get access to my weekly newsletters. I actually send out a homemaking newsletter and a homeschool newsletter once per week, and you will be able to keep up with all of those different things that I've got going on. So with that said, we're going to jump right in, and we're going to start talking about these 5 systems that every homeschool mom needs to help run her home and her homeschool. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is a simple lesson planning system. Okay, so I'm going to briefly sort of talk about how I do things. There's lots of different ways to do things, so this is just one example. But for my lesson planning system, I actually keep everything in this binder that I have here, and it says Homeschool Portfolio because it's going to be my lesson planning system plus my record keeping system, which we will talk about in a little bit. But I have a very simple way of planning our homeschool. So if you are new here, we actually use the Mater Amabilis homeschool curriculum. It's a free Catholic Charlotte Mason based curriculum. And what I love about their curriculum is that we get access to weekly plans. So I keep in the back of my record keeper here all of our weekly plans for the homeschool year from Mater Amabilis. This is actually their level 1B curriculum outline. So this is what I was using with my first grader. And then here is sort of a look at what the weekly plans look like. So I can very easily refer to this here in my binder when I am planning our homeschool week, and I can see exactly what we need to get done for the week. Now, the cool thing about this, and something that I did not do this school year, but I will be doing next year, is they have editable files. So I can go through and I can change things. Now, If you know me, I don't necessarily stick to a curriculum 100%. I do like to try different resources, or there are just different things that I use that I've been using for years that is not necessarily from the Modern Mobilese curriculum. So I will go through and I can put in, what I want the kids to do for their math and their math lessons, what we're going to be using for our English and language arts, what we're going to be using for handwriting or copy work. If I need to change something, if we're not using a book, if we're doing a completely different science, which is something that I'm known to do, I can edit that too. I can edit all of that. And I keep it here in the back of this binder. And then what I will do is I will pull out the term that we are working on, and I keep it in a different binder, my morning time binder. So that way all of the stuff that I'm using for that term is in my morning time binder, and I can go through and then transfer it to one of my lesson planning sheets. Now, this portfolio planner that I have is available in my shop. And I keep a week at a glance here where I can just jot down the things that we are going to be doing for the week. So I know exactly what I want to do for our morning time, what I want to do for the kids' individual lessons, and I can keep this front and center of either a clipboard that I keep handy while I'm doing homeschool, or just in that morning time binder that I have. And I'll probably do some B-roll of the morning time binder because I forgot to grab it and bring it in here with me. So that's how I do that. Now, one of the things that I am considering is buying an actual homeschool planner. I love the School Nest notebooks. I even did a video on the School Nest notebooks not too long ago. We are using them for all of our notebooking needs in our homeschool, and I've been eyeing their planner, their minimalist planner. So that's another option. You can write down what you're going to be studying in that homeschool planner if you'd like to have one of those. But whatever you do, you need some sort of simple lesson planning system put into place. Now, for my older kids, I'm going to have 2 in high school this year. That's crazy to me. I'm going to have 2 in high school and then a 7th grader. What I like to do for them, for the high school kids, I create a Google Doc for each one of the kids, and every single week I will go through and put their assignments in the Google Doc checklist style. We use a lot of Homeschool Connections recorded courses for them for their homeschool. We're going to be changing up a few things next year, so they're not just going to be doing mostly online courses, but they're going to have also some of the Modern Mobilese subjects, and then I've got some other things planned for them that I'll talk about in future videos. But the Google Doc is just a great way. It's something that I can easily share with them, and they can go through and then check off whenever they complete their assignments. And that works really well for us. Now, my 7th grader, I have a very simple system for him. And this is something that I tend to start all of my kids on when they're really ready to venture off into independent work. I have a spiral notebook for him. And I will go through on Sundays and I will write down his assignments checklist style in the spiral notebook. That way he's not having to rely on getting on a computer or something, because he doesn't do as much online work as my high school students do. And he can just go through the spiral notebook and then check off his assignments that way. So that is how we do it. Like I said, I've got a lot of kids, so I've got different systems for different kids depending on their ages. But whatever you choose to do, a simple homeschool lesson planning system is definitely something that you need. Okay, so let's talk about number 2. Number 2 is something that I share a lot about on the blog and here on the YouTube channel and in my weekly newsletters, and that is establishing a simple daily rhythm or routine. Now, I am not one for strict, rigid schedules. I have found over the years that those have never really worked very well for us, because I've always been in a season of having babies and toddlers, and it's too difficult to come up with a very strict, rigid schedule. So for us, we have always done sort of like a daily rhythm. We are creatures of habit. We like to do things in a certain way every single day. And I think that works very well for homeschooling because it allows you to get done the things that you need to get done, not necessarily in specific times, but in a way that flows and it's in order and your kids know what to expect, what's going to come next. So for us, what I decided to do this past school year that we're just finishing up, I've talked about, I think in my last video, about our summer homeschool plans, that we had kind of a rough school year, and there was a lot of leaving the house. That is not something that I necessarily enjoy doing. I did have to get a little bit more strict with when we were going to do things in order to actually accomplish those things. So I kind of wrote out like timetables, and it's not something that we can stick to perfectly. I have found that out. Like I can say we're going to start school exactly at 8:30 a.m., but I have found a lot of times that's not what's happening. So what we are doing is basically I have set up this schedule, if you will, and really we're just following it in order, not necessarily in like the exact time blocks that I have listed, just because that doesn't work well for us. It may work well for you and the way that you run your home and your homeschool, but I have found that a lot of homeschool moms work better with just a natural routine or rhythm. So I'm going to give you an example of a homeschool day for us when we don't have to leave the house, because those are my favorite homeschool days anyway. So we'll get up. I try to get up before the kids, and this is something that I'm working on and hope that I can get better about, especially now that I'm not in a season where I have babies or toddlers anymore. My youngest is 4 years old now, so things have gotten a little bit easier in that area of me being able to get up before the kids because I'm not up nursing babies all night. So I try to get up, have my coffee, do my Bible reading and all of that stuff, and then get ready for the day and then prepare breakfast for the kids. The kids will come eat breakfast. We love listening to our Yodo player. There's Yodo Daily that I play during breakfast. The kids enjoy that. So we'll sit and we'll listen to Yodo Daily, and then we'll clean up real quick from breakfast and then move into our morning time routine. So I do like to start the day kind of sort of cleaned up, not necessarily doing like a full, we're not in there doing the dishes and stuff first thing in the morning, but I want the table kind of picked up and the breakfast dishes cleared away and all of that. So we'll do that. The kids will get ready. We'll start our morning time routine, and that's where I have everybody come and gather with me. Doesn't always go as planned, but we have different things that we do on different days. So we might be reading from our Shakespeare play. We'll listen to our hymn or our folk song. We'll do or maybe a Plutarch reading, just whatever I have scheduled for the day. We always start with prayer. Forgot to mention that. So we start our morning time with prayer, and then we'll do, the hymn or the folk song, the artist study or the composer study, Shakespeare or Plutarch, depending on the day. And then we always end our morning time with current events. We like to watch The World from A to Z with Carl Azus. It's free and it's here on YouTube. The kids really enjoy that. I am planning to add some catechism stuff next year because some things are getting changed around. They're not going to be doing faith formation classes at church next year. It's a long story. I'll probably get into it when I share about our curriculum. But I'll only have 2 kids that are going to be attending classes, religious education classes at church next year because they're receiving sacraments. But the other kids, our church has wonky schedules for different ages and different grades, and I just decided I cannot manage that. I cannot be at church for 3 hours Wednesday night and then pretty much the entire day Sunday, because that's what it would end up being with the way that our church has their faith formation classes scheduled. So only 2 kids are getting religious education classes at church next year. So we're going to try to do some catechism stuff at home as a family. My kids do work individually on their catechism workbooks that we have here at home, but that's not something that we do as a family. So Anyway, that's a rabbit trail. Sorry about that. That's what we're going to be doing. Okay, so after morning time, then I start working on group work with my middle kids, and my older kids go and start on their independent work. And I have different things scheduled on different days. As a Charlotte Mason educator, we like to spread the feast, so we're working on several different subjects, and it just depends on the day what we have scheduled. Could be religious. There's always some sort of religious education text that I'm reading from. And then there's, let's see, science. This season we were working on mountains and volcanoes, and we were also doing a study on Asia. So I might read a picture book from a country in Asia, or, you know, whatever it is. Oh, Antarctic study, that was a fun one. And then our history. And we just kind of rotate through what we're doing depending on the day. I have it all laid out in my lesson plans. So after that, my older middle kids will start their independent work, and I'll do some work with my first grader. My preschooler is just kind of tagging along at this point. She might have some of her own work that she wants to do, or she's playing, or just doing whatever. And then we'll have lunch, we'll have quiet time, I'll do some cleaning that I have scheduled, and that's pretty much the whole day until, you know, it's time to do dinner and all of that stuff. So that's how our daily routine and rhythm sort of flows. When we are outside of the house, things look a little bit different. I try to get as much as I can done in the morning, and then we are out for the afternoon doing therapies or whatever needs to be done. Visit in the library while one of my kids is at therapy, or just whatever we've got going on. Those days look a little bit different, but I still just like to have that routine that we flow through, and it's not a rigid set schedule, but it is predictable and the kids know what to expect. Okay, so now we're going to talk about number 3, and I did an entire video on this. A simple meal planning system. So I am in a season of life where I like to keep meals super simple. I'm not experimenting a lot in the kitchen. I just don't have the time or the budget for it. I'm trying to keep things budget friendly as well. So we just do have very, very simple meals. A meat, a vegetable, a starch for dinner. And then we keep like breakfast super easy. There's some cereal or some yogurt. The kids have smoothies. There's always eggs and bacon available. I don't plan out our breakfast and our lunches super strictly. I just make sure that we have ingredients on hand, and the older kids are able to help themselves, and I will typically make something like pancakes or oatmeal or whatever we're feeling like having that day for the younger kids and for myself as well. And then lunches are also super easy. We're either having leftovers. I do keep like frozen chicken nuggets, frozen fish sticks on hand. We could have fresh veggies that are cut up, fresh fruit, sandwiches, just very, very simple, easy. Keep the ingredients on hand, and just whatever we feel like having that day is what we can have. And then for dinner time, one of the things that I've done in the past that works really, really well, and I kind of sort of go back and forth. Sometimes I fall out of this routine, but it might be something that might help you if you're struggling with meal planning, is to have like each day assigned a certain type of meal. And there's a million different ways that you can do this, but I'm just going to give you some examples of things that we've done in the past. So like Monday could be a crock pot meal. Let's say you're super busy Monday, you make it a crock pot meal day. Tuesday, we've always done Taco Tuesday. I still do this a lot of the time. So it's not even necessarily tacos. It might be fajitas, whatever Mexican style dish that we are wanting to eat that week. Wednesday could be a chicken meal. Thursday could be a pasta meal. Friday could be Pizza Friday. It's something that we always do. Saturday could be a grill out day. You have burgers or hot dogs on the grill, depending on the time of the year. Maybe if it's winter time, it's a soup day. And then for Sundays, they can be a little bit fancier if you want them to be, or a little less fancier, whatever it is that you're wanting to do. I like to do roast on Sundays. That's always a fun one and one that everybody enjoys. Um, just whatever that you want to do. So those are some ways that you can meal plan that kind of takes like that mental guesswork out of meal planning, because I know it's so easy to get in a rut if you're having to do this week after week after week. And I like that. I like the mental load to be lightened a little bit. So simple meal planning like that can be extremely helpful. So some sort of meal planning system. You can keep like a meal plan printable on your refrigerator. You can laminate it, use a dry erase marker, and write down the meal plan so that way everybody knows what to expect for dinners that week. Or you can write down what's available for breakfast and lunches if that's something that you feel like you need to do. And that will help everybody in the house know what's going on and what's available. And that way they're not asking you a million questions, because that can get overwhelming as well. So I hope that that's helpful. Some of my kids anyway, are old enough to help with the cooking and making their own meals. So I do have kids that like to make their own meals for lunch. They like make full on chicken, like they take raw chicken and turn it into something for lunch. They do that regularly. So that is helpful. I do let my kids help in the kitchen. I can't do it all. And really, mom shouldn't be expected to do it all, especially if you are doing all of these other things too, you know? So I hope that's helpful. A simple meal plan system. That's number 3. That's something that you need as a homeschool mom. All right, let's talk about number 4. Number 4 is a home management system. So something that I'm really, really big on. So I have a full, huge home management binder where I keep all sorts of things. I keep my cleaning schedules in there, my information about my kids, like their likes, their dislikes, their sizes. That way, when I'm buying their clothes, I know what size I need to get for each one of the kids. I keep all sorts of things in here. If you have a garden or certain plants that you like to plant in your landscaping or whatever, you can keep that in your home management binder. So that way you have somewhere to refer to that whenever it's time to plant again the next year. You can remember what you planted last year. The home management binder can also hold your budgeting system. I like to use just a small, simple budget planner. There's lots of different ways you can budget, but that's part of your home management system as well. And then also just somewhere to keep information for insurance purposes, to keep an inventory of the different things that you own. All of that can get really overwhelming really, really fast. So having a set system, for me, I use a big old binder. You could do whatever works for you. If you do something online, you can do that. But just having this set system is really, really helpful, and will take a load off of you. Will take the mental load off of you. So I definitely recommend that. And then, of course, I've always talked about the cleaning systems and having the kids help. Give them age appropriate chores. Everybody in the house needs to pitch in to help the house run smoothly. I really believe that. So having some sort of weekly or rotating cleaning routine, so you can actually make sure that the showers get scrubbed or the fridge gets cleaned out. I personally use zone cleaning. I have lots and lots of resources and information on that if that's something that you're interested in. Different people do different things. So whatever it is that works for you, a home management system is a system that you need as a homeschool mom. Okay, and finally, number 5, we're going to talk about that record keeping system. So depending on what state you live in, you're probably going to have different requirements, different things that you need to keep track of as part of your homeschool. We live in a pretty relaxed state. I don't have to keep tons and tons of things for my kids, and I don't. With 7 kids, it would be completely impossible for me to keep every single piece of work that they've done. But I do like to keep some things, and I have a large accordion file where I keep different things throughout the school year that I would like to keep. And then at the end of the school year, I'll go through that accordion file and I'll pull out the things that I still want to keep, because sometimes I'll go through it and I'll be like, oh, I don't need to keep this, I don't need to keep that. And then I can bind all of that up together and then stick it in a large tote. I have probably at this point 2 large totes with different bound books for my kids. That includes their homeschool work from over the years. So that's how I keep track of like the paper things. Also, for like my high school students, I keep track of their transcripts on my computer. So every time that they finish a class, so a lot of their classes are online, so they are doing them by semester, I'll go through and I'll record all of their grades on my computer. It's just a simple Word doc where I keep all of their, transcript things. As far as keeping track of the curriculum that we use and the way that I want things to run, I do use my homeschool portfolio. I have a place to keep track of attendance. I have a place to keep track of which days we're doing school, because I really need to plan out which days that I want to have school and which days we're going to be on break and all of that stuff. I keep track of important dates, field trips, different websites that I have subscriptions to or access to. I keep track of all those and the login information for all of those. Keep track of the contacts. So if we're doing a classes outside of the house, I need to have the contact information for each one of those classes, the teachers and all of that stuff. And I like to also keep track of just planning our year. So if I want to take certain field trips, then I have a place where I can write down all of the different field trips that I want us to take, the different goals that I have for my kids or for our homeschool. And I don't really keep track of grades for my younger kids, but this particular packet does include a grade tracker. However, I do keep track of our curriculum. So I have a curriculum tracker where I can write down all of the different curriculum that I'm using for each of my kids. There's a homeschool expense tracker, so you can calculate how much you're actually spending on your homeschool. And then a service tracker, so if your kids are doing service projects, you can keep track of that in your homeschool portfolio, as well as the books that they're reading or the books that you're reading aloud. There's a reading tracker in there. And then there's tons of note pages, because I like to just kind of brain dump. So I will use my note pages to brain dump unit study ideas if I'm wanting to do that, or different things that I want to add to our homeschool that make them a little bit more fun. We did a lot more hands-on projects this school year, so I keep track of all of that in my homeschool portfolio. And then if you don't have as many children as I do, you can definitely take some samples of your kids' work and keep track of that in like a large binder homeschool portfolio type thing. I just have way too many kids to try to do it in a binder. So that's why I use the big, huge accordion file. But if you're only homeschooling, 1 or 2 kids, you could easily do that in a binder. So those are the 5 homeschool systems that help keep our homeschool life running smoothly. We've got a lesson planning system, we've got daily routines, we've got a simple meal planning system, we have, the home management system, and then the record keeping system. Those are 5 things that I would definitely highly encourage you to establish if you haven't already, to help your next homeschool year run a little bit more smoothly. If you'd like a little help getting started, I do have a free homeschool planning pack. I think it includes the homeschool calendar at a glance for this next school year, the 25-26 school year, and it probably includes the homeschool expense tracker and there's one more other little printable that it includes. That's completely free. I'll have that listed down below in the description box. And I'll also have a link to our homeschool portfolio planning printables for you. And can definitely check those out. And don't forget to please like this video. It helps us out a ton. Subscribe for more encouragement. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.